Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Breaking news just hit overnight that's going to affect millions of American wallets. President Trump has just pushed through a massive economic bill that could put $4,500 back in your pocket. But that's not all. This same legislation is making major waves for SNAP benefits and Medicaid programs across the country. Are you going to be one of the Americans receiving these refunds? Or could you be one of the millions facing potential changes to your benefits? This is information you absolutely cannot afford to miss. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and notification bell right now to stay updated on all the latest economic news that directly impacts your finances. Our community is growing fast, and we're dedicated to breaking down complex policies into information that actually helps you navigate these changing times. Let me start by saying this bill passing overnight has caught many Americans off guard. The legislation, formerly titled the American Economic Relief and Accountability Act, was pushed through in a late-night session after weeks of heated debate in Congress. President Trump immediately signed it into law in the early hours of this morning, calling it a tremendous victory for hard-working Americans who have been waiting for financial relief. But what exactly does this mean for you and your family? First, let's talk about those $4,500 refunds that have everyone talking. According to the bill, qualifying taxpayers who earned between $25,000 and $150,000 in the previous tax year will be eligible for a tax refund of up to $4,500 per household. The exact amount varies based on income levels, number of dependents, and previous tax contributions. But here's the important question: how soon could you see this money? The Treasury Department has announced an ambitious timeline, stating that the first wave of direct deposits could begin as early as next month, with paper checks following shortly after. Have you checked whether your direct deposit information is up to date with the IRS? If not, now would be a good time to verify those details. The refunds are being funded through a combination of budget reallocations and what the administration is calling corporate tax enforcement initiatives. Essentially, the bill includes provisions for stricter auditing of large corporations, which the administration projects will recover billions in previously unpaid taxes. Critics are questioning whether these projections are realistic, but supporters point to similar successful initiatives in other countries. What's your take? Do you think this approach will successfully fund these refunds without adding to the national debt? Now, let's address the more controversial aspects of this legislation, the changes to SNAP benefits and Medicaid programs that have many social advocacy groups deeply concerned. Under the new bill, SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, will undergo what the administration calls a structural reorganization. This means new work requirements for able-bodied adults between 18 and 55 without dependents, requiring them to either work, volunteer, or participate in job training programs for at least 20 hours per week to maintain their benefits. The administration argues this will promote self-sufficiency, but opponents worry about those who may fall through the cracks. Do you know anyone who might be affected by these new requirements? As for Medicaid, the bill introduces state-level flexibility that allows governors to implement their own eligibility requirements beyond federal guidelines. Proponents say this will lead to more efficient use of resources and better targeting of those truly in need. While critics fear it could result in millions losing healthcare coverage, the bill does include a 6-month transition period before these changes take effect. How might these Medicaid changes impact healthcare access in your state? Something that isn't getting as much attention in mainstream coverage is the bill's inclusion of a financial literacy and education fund, which allocates $2 billion toward free financial education resources for low and middle-income Americans. This includes online courses, community workshops, and even one-on-one financial coaching in underserved areas. Could this represent a meaningful step toward addressing systemic financial inequality? Or is it merely a token gesture alongside more controversial measures? Another key element that's flying under the radar is the bill's housing assistance provisions. The legislation includes expanded tax credits for first-time homebuyers and rental assistance for families spending more than 50% of their income on housing. With the housing market remaining challenging for many Americans, these provisions could offer meaningful relief for those struggling to keep a roof over their heads. But the question remains, will these measures be enough to address America's ongoing housing affordability crisis? Small businesses aren't left out of this bill either. There's a targeted tax credit for small businesses that hire and retain employees for at least 1 year, potentially offering up to $5,000 per qualified employee. For struggling small business owners, this could provide the financial breathing room needed to expand operations and create more jobs. Have you noticed small businesses in your community struggling with staffing or retention? This provision could significantly impact local economies across the nation. Energy costs are also addressed, with the bill establishing an energy cost relief program that provides direct subsidies to utility companies that agree to cap rate increases for the next 2 years. Will this actually translate to lower utility bills for average Americans? Or will the benefits primarily go to the utility companies themselves? The effectiveness of this program will likely vary significantly by state and region. One of the most fiercely debated sections of the bill involves changes to retirement account regulations. The legislation raises the annual contribution limits for 401(k)s and IRAs, while introducing new tax advantages for catch-up contributions for Americans over 50. Financial advisors are already scrambling to understand how these changes might affect retirement planning strategies. When was the last time you reviewed your retirement savings plan? These new provisions might make this the perfect time to reconsider your long-term financial strategy. The bill also includes significant student loan provisions that could affect millions of borrowers. While it doesn't include broad loan forgiveness, it does expand income-driven repayment options and introduces new tax deductions for interest paid on student loans. For recent graduates struggling with high monthly payments, these changes could provide meaningful relief. Do you or someone you know have student loan debt? These provisions could potentially save thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. Environmental groups have expressed mixed reactions to the bill's climate provisions. On one hand, it extends tax credits for electric vehicles and home energy efficiency improvements. On the other, it rolls back certain regulations on domestic energy production that environmentalists consider crucial. The administration argues this approach balances environmental concerns with economic growth, but many climate activists remain unconvinced. How much do environmental considerations factor into your economic decisions? Perhaps most surprisingly, the bill includes a little-discussed provision for increasing funding to the IRS, specifically for improving customer service and reducing tax return processing times. After years of budget cuts that led to notorious wait times and processing delays, this investment could potentially make tax season less painful for millions of Americans. When was the last time you had to contact the IRS? Did you experience long wait times or other service issues? In the coming days, we'll undoubtedly see more detailed analysis of this complex legislation. Financial experts are still combing through the full text of the bill to understand all its implications. What we know for certain is that this represents one of the most significant economic policy changes in recent years, with potential impacts reaching virtually every American household in one way or another. So what should you do now? First, stay informed. The implementation details of this bill will be crucial to understanding how it affects your specific situation. Second, if you believe you're eligible for the tax refund, make sure your information with the IRS is current. Third, if you or someone you know relies on SNAP or Medicaid benefits, start researching how these changes might affect eligibility in your state. We'll be covering every aspect of this legislation as more details emerge and implementation begins. This is exactly why staying connected to channels like this one is so important during times of major policy changes. Your financial well-being could depend on having accurate, timely information that cuts through the political noise. That's all for today's breaking news update. If you found this information valuable, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with friends and family who might be affected by these changes. Drop your questions in the comments below. I read every single one and will address the most common concerns in our follow-up video. Until next time, stay informed and financially savvy.